We have details from last night's town council meeting on this episode of Barnstable Today. It's Friday, November 6th, 2015. I'm Sarah Mantle. The Department of Public Works hopes to make snow and ice removal more efficient this year. DPW Director Dan Santos says they will be utilizing new technologies to make that happen.
And just a little more specificity on some of the items that we looked at. The GPS, but I think it warrants a repeat that, we're using, as you can see up, I'm not afraid to push the button. Well, the top left is the current Emergency Response Center map, where we're using stick-it notes and magnets and radios, and the bottom lower, this is what we're basically going to have in our Emergency Response Center, a large smart board that's interactive, that gives us all the information about where all of our equipment is in the storm, and not only that, but where it's been. And you can see on the right side, the top graphic there showing all the pieces of equipment in that particular town. And then on the bottom, that's an example of over time where one particular piece of equipment went. And ultimately, the goal of this is knowing what streets have or have not been plowed, in what interval, what's been missed, and to better manage how we handle the storm. And I think we're very excited about it. You've approved the appropriation for it. We have a contract signed, and we're hoping to get at least the initial implementation of this this year, and to give it a good tryout. So the longer the snow waits, the more we'll have implemented this year with the GPS vehicle location system. As far as equipment, I mentioned snow fighters. This is our term for the large equipment with plows and spreaders that we're using to fight the storm. And you can see on the top right photograph there, that's a new snow fighter that we just acquired. That's an Oshkosh plow. These are the cream of the crop for plowing. This is what's used out in Minnesota and on airports, and you don't stop these. The beauty is, with our snow fighter concept, is we're stretching our budgets by buying used equipment because we found that we take new equipment and we put salt on it and run it with the salt and the sanders, and we're destroying these trucks in almost half the life of what we should get out of them. So what we've done is a program to buy used equipment, good, solid used equipment that will serve us not as long as a new piece of equipment, but maybe 8 years rather than a new piece being ruined in 12. We can get 20 years out of. So, for example, this Oshkosh, this is a $300,000 piece of equipment that we paid $80,000 for, and it has 40,000 miles on it. So these kind of equipment is going to allow us to get more equipment and better equipment, and it'd be dedicated to snow and ice removal. So this truck, this allows the trucks we buy new to be used as construction vehicles, and they're ready for that purpose, and they'll last longer.
Santos says the department is also beefing up communication efforts this winter. Town councilors heard the annual tax classification presentation from Director of Finance Mark Milne and Director of Assessing Jeff Rudziak. During the presentation, Rudziak talked about the residential tax exemption.
One right here, if you did a 10%, $903,000 is the break point, and what that means is you'd be just as well off not having the residential exemption voted in at all, because the rate wouldn't have gone up so much. And at 903, you're going to pay the same amount of tax that you did before at a 10% exemption. And that number is 921, under 20% exemption. Everybody over 921 pays the same or more. But still remember, and I get this question multiple times every year, primary property owners valued above that level should still apply. Otherwise, you're just leaving that money on the table. You're still paying the higher rate. You might as well get that break off your taxes that you're due anyway. You're still paying more, but don't leave that money on the table, okay? And that's for the public. Please take advantage of it if you can. So as you see, under no exemption, the rate would have been $841. Under 10%, the rate would go to $884. And if you maintain 20%, you back to the 931, the cent increase over last year. And the savings are $260.76, $551.07 on the end at this $318,700 level. As you may guess, if the 20% does not come into play this year, that same $318,700 house will see a $551 tax.
And councilors will make a decision on the tax classification options at the November 19th Town Council meeting. Last night was Town Council Vice President Ann Kennedy's final meeting as a Town Councilor. Town Council President Jessica Rapp-Grassetti honored Kennedy's 12 years of service.
I wasn't looking forward to this day, as you know, but I do have a proclamation to read to you, and this is the second time I've given you this proclamation, but it bears repeating. So, in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, all citizens are equal members and have the right to choose legislators with skill and knowledge and virtue in order to advance their well-being and the well-being of their neighbors. And whereas Ann B. Kennedy, first elected to the Barnstable Town Council in 2003, has been in service to the public for 12 years, most recently as Vice President of the Town Council, and in the years 2014 and 2015. And whereas Vice President Ann Kennedy has acted with conviction and principle, elevating the council and the people the council body represents with clarity, dignity, and fervent attention to what is right and what is wrong. And whereas Vice President Ann B. Kennedy's skillful leadership, its absence of hostility, accommodation of diverse points of view, all sing in perfect harmony with her animating spirit, commitment to the legislative institution, and her marvelous sense of humor. And whereas Councilor Ann Kennedy has directly assisted Barnstable students in advancing their intellectual development and preparedness for joyful adventures of life, and whereas whether it be the eternal love of daughter Lauren and now newly born grandson Jonah, dutiful chair of the Council Roads Committee, spearheading the formation of the Land Acquisition and Preservation Committee and the Barnstable Village Cultural District, prodigious constituent services, or an unbridled advocacy for her beloved village, the Honorable Vice President Ann B. Kennedy has faithfully served the people by way of the wholesome content of her entire heart, body, mind, and soul. And whereas the legacy of Councilor Ann B. Kennedy is one of courage and dignity, which will continue to illuminate the paths of Barnstable citizens for generation after generation, now therefore be it resolved that the Barnstable Town Council does hereby extend its everlasting appreciation to you for the light you have shone on the paths of our lives. In witness whereof, I, Jessica Rapp-Grassetti, President of the Barnstable Town Council, have hereunto set my hand and caused the official seal of the Town of Barnstable to be affixed this 5th day of November, 2015. Congratulations, Ann.
And Kennedy had a few words for her fellow
Very much,
councilors.
Jessica. I do want to tell you and everyone else that you are all wonderful human beings and wonderful representatives of this town. This is the best council. I've said this over and over again, but this is the best council in the last 12 years, and I have been privileged to serve with all of you. Each one of you has a specific talent, and you have brought it to bear. Excellent leadership under Ms. Grassetti, and we've had a great relationship. Please keep in mind, you don't have to agree, but try not to be disagreeable. Remember, your position in this town is the people of Barnstable are at the top, and then the town of Barnstable Town Council is the next tier, and then it goes on down there from that. So remember the chart, and you'll be in good stead. So keep it up and move the question.
And we'd like to thank Town Council Vice President Ann Kennedy for her service. Congratulations. We'll be sure to tune in to our hour-long news program, Barnstable This Morning, weekdays at 7 a.m. On Monday's show, we will talk with Assistant Town Manager Mark Ells, Interim Superintendent of Schools Bill Butler, plus we'll have all the news and information you need. For Barnstable Today, I'm Sarah Mannel.